Hi there, it's Dr. Saira, and I am back with Ask Dr. Saira, our weekly video series where I answer your questions. What we're going to do today is a synopsis of the last 3 weeks and a little bit of a deeper dive into those questions. So give you a recap if I can remember the last 3 weeks. Okay, so the first week we talked about, there was a person who wrote in and she talked about social media and how she was comparing herself. She was looking on other people's social media feeds and feeling bad about herself because she just couldn't compare. So that was one. The second question was a mom who wrote in and asked about her daughter who she thinks is gay, but hadn't told her mom that she was gay, and how do I out my daughter was basically her question. And the third question was about focusing a lot on negative things, making negative things into a big deal and minimizing good things. And why, what's the psychology behind that? How does that happen? Why does that happen to us? So those were the three questions. And I was thinking about this month and that those particular questions were coming up. And I see a theme in all three questions. And the theme that I see in all three is, what will people say? Right? It's this thing that we do where we're like, those people out there have an opinion and their opinion really matters to me, and now I'm concerned because of their opinion. What will people say? So I saw this really funny comedy bit about that. Hassan Minaj is his name, and he talks about this. He does this whole bit on what will people say, and there's entire cultures that are based around this worry about what will people say. And I mean, I come from one of those cultures where it's like, oh, you can't do that because what will people say? You can't cut your hair because what will people say? You can't do this because you can't date that person because what will people say? And other people's opinions start becoming a really salient factor in our own decision making. And I would say that comes from tribal times, right? So it comes from tribal times where the group harmony was really, really critical. And so we unconsciously and over time have created these social norms to keep the group happy, to keep everybody in the group happy. And sometimes that means individual needs are sacrificed for the group happiness. And there's actually, in anthropology, there's a term for that, which is called a collectivist culture, right? Collectivist cultures are where the needs of the collective are prioritized over the need of the individual. Then you have individualistic cultures where the needs of the individual are put above needs of the collective or the group or the family or the society. And if you look around the world, neither of those models in their pure forms are really working, right? Because in individualistic cultures, what happens is that you have fragmentation. People are extremely lonely. There isn't that sense of community and belonging and connection. In collectivist cultures, individual aspiration and innovation and thinking outside the box is not encouraged. People just don't rise because everybody needs to kind of stay together and stay the same. And so neither of these approaches is really working for us as human beings, as complex human beings. And so what I would say, as to summarize those three questions, is that we have to kind of take a middle road here. We have to take a middle road where we think about and we honor the family that we're in, the community that we're in. We're thinking about the environment. We're thinking about, our context. But we're also not forgetting our own needs and our own desires and aspirations. And so what will people say is there, and we should consider how our actions will affect the people around us. But what am I going to need to be my best self is equally as important. And so when we summarize the three questions from this month and, just thinking about how you're behaving in your life this month, I would ask you to try to find that center point where it's not all about you. It's not always all about everybody else either. You're somewhere in that sweet spot in the middle. And I think that takes a continuous navigation, right? It's a moment-to-moment self-reflection to check inside and say, do I feel like really saying yes here? Do I feel like saying no here? What does my inner self advising me to do here? Rather than what does my aunt say and what does my daughter need and what does my husband think? Or what does my teacher want? Or what does my boss expect? Rather than all of those questions is, what does Saira want? What do you want? What's inside? And then letting that inform everything else. And when you truly go inside and hear that voice, it is very rare. I have never had the experience where your inner voice is actually going to be where someone else suffers, right? Because the truest part of us doesn't want anybody else to suffer, unless you're a sociopath, in which case you're probably not watching these videos, right? But for most of us, it's the majority of us, is that we don't want other people to suffer. we want to have what we want, and we want other people to be successful too. So when you go in and you really check in, you'll find that quiet voice that's like, oh, just do this. Sometimes that can mean taking a break from certain people or certain situations in your life. That's absolutely fine. If you need to step back and reevaluate and regroup, take a break, and then step back into something, do that. If it means, like I gave an example with the social media question, like maybe you need to take a break from the social media for a while and just, figure out what you're using it for and what the purpose of it, how it's adding to your life. If there's things that are subtracting from you and giving you stress every time you engage with them, don't do them. Like, just take a step back. And then there's things that you have to do that are stressful, like the laundry and the dishes, and you just have to do it because it's about that communal, whatever. So again, going and checking inside, being honest with yourself about why you're doing the things you're doing, and that thing about what will people say, letting that drift to the side, and really thinking about what is it that I want in this moment that's going to also be the best for all of us involved. The last thought, we have this saying in my household, when mom is happy, the family's happy, right? And I know, especially for women and especially for mothers who are often, juggling a lot of balls, it's really important that you consider your needs and prioritize your needs in order to be your best self so that you can give to the people around you who need from you a lot. If you're drained, exhausted, and resentful, that's the energy that you bring to your family. And so the happier that you can be, the more grounded that you can be, the more open and loving and trusting you can be, the better that's going to be for everybody who loves you and depends on you. So those are my thoughts for this month, summarizing the last 3 questions. If you have particular thoughts about this summary, please leave them in the comments below, and I'm happy to answer your questions. You can either leave a question in the comments below or email me at connect@talktosaira.com, and I would love to answer your question in an upcoming segment. It's your life, and only you can live it. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye.